Because if you get a license plate that said I made, I'm going to have stickers made up that say a boom boom. I'm just gonna
Hey, this is Gary. That first part was recorded from my favorite podcast, Reclaimed Audio, with Phil Pinsky, Ken Sway, and Bill Lutz. So I wanted to thank Bill Lutz for inspiring this project. In 2017, he was talking about doing a project using those old plastic blow mold tool cases, and that inspired me to take one of my old tool cases and turn it into a boombox. So I'm starting out with a computer speaker system. You can see it has 2 speakers and a subwoofer. And I'm just going to take that apart and install it into the tool case. Here I'm using the original bottom of the subwoofer case and cutting it out and using that to mount into the tool case. This just makes it easier in mounting all the boards and accessories into the toolbox. Here I'm just laying out all the components to see where they may fit, and you can see I lucked out in that the tool case already has a circular opening. It's a perfect fit for the subwoofer. Next, I cut out all the speaker openings by just taping it up and cutting it out with a jigsaw. I use a drill with a sanding attachment to smooth out all the edges. Next, I installed the power switch, and you'll note that the tool case has 2 walls, so you need to cut through both. Here I had an old USB power adapter that I modified by soldering on 2 power lines, a positive and a negative. Luckily, the output of the computer speakers had a 12-volt output, so I'm just tapping into that circuit. Since the charging adapter had 2 USB ports, I decided to extend one of those ports to the outside of the tool case. That way your phone could be charged while playing over Bluetooth. So here I just 3D printed a USB mounting bracket and cut a hole in the tool case and mounted the entire assembly with screws. And I'm using a blind nut riveting system. I think it's a good way to install things into the plastic enclosure. And you can see I used expanding foam. I thought it would help with the acoustics of the boombox. I'm not sure it did, but I did it anyway. And here I'm just making some covers out of sheet styrene. I'm just doing a quick bench test to make sure everything works. So now I'm just doing the final assembly, putting everything all together. So at this point you're probably wondering, why go through all this effort? Just go to Amazon, buy a $20 speaker system. Yeah, I could have done that, but this stuff was just going to end up in the landfills, so I figured why not have some fun and put together my own system and share with all of you how you too could put together a system if you had similar parts lying around. So I'd like to take a moment to shill for the Reclaimed Audio crew. I think what they're doing is awesome. Upcycling using reclaimed material is a great message to promote. And as an added benefit, their podcast is super entertaining, so go listen to them. So the first USB Bluetooth adapter I used didn't work, so I had to use another one. This one was a little bit too wide, so I had to cut off the enclosure. A common problem with these Bluetooth adapters is what's called a DC ground loop. It's a buzzing that you hear in the speakers when you connect it. So I just made a 3D printed bracket for the ground loop module. So late in the project, I realized I didn't like the look of the exposed speakers, so I decided to create some speaker grills. So I used some scrap masonite board and some copper wire, epoxied it into place, and I used those plastic tabs you see in interior of car automobile panels. I think the ones I used here are from a Toyota. So one of the do-overs of this project is that I actually bought some speaker cloth. What I should have done is just gone to the thrift store and bought some similar material that I could use for speaker cloth and use that. It was way more here than I actually needed. So feel free to chastise me in the comments. Next project I'll try to use more reclaimed recycled material. Here I'm just making a sock for the front grille. There was no real way to attach it, so I made a sock for it. The rear grille, I just cut out a square piece of cloth and used adhesive to just glue it on.
Welcome to everyone's favorite podcast, It's Reclaimed Audio, with your hosts, Phil Pinsky, Phil Roots, and Tim Sway.
Thanks for watching. It was a fun project. Please like and subscribe.